Word here. Cool. So week 6, we're going to be talking about content promotion. This is going to be a relatively lengthy call compared to the others. As you can see, there's like 44 slides worth of content. A lot of it is going to be just talking about some stuff related to SEO, and that stuff we're going to go through relatively quickly. My main goal is just to get you to kind of a partial understanding, enough so that you understand the importance of everything that we're doing. But the agenda we're going to go through is understanding the split between content promotion versus content creation. So the 80-20 of that and how that applies. We're going to go through a very quick primer of what backlinks are and how they drive SEO. Again, the key bit there is just for you to understand that it's important, understand that it makes a difference. You don't need to know all the inner workings of it, but as long as you know that it's important, that it makes a difference, that's really all you need to go forward there. We're going to talk about a few ways to build links that we use in our business, so ones that are really effective for us. We're going to go through some of the promotion channels. We're going to go a little bit high level there because in reality for everybody it's a little bit different. And in this particular format, because we are a relatively small group, I'd much prefer that if you're struggling with promotion channels where you want to promote your content, just reach out to me in a one-to-one call. We'll find the perfect channels for you because I don't want you to have to go through a whole bunch of iteration there. Then we're going to go through the 6 content promotion strategies that we use. These are strategies that drive very quick traffic. They're all about driving the immediate traffic. It also does help with backlink building and everything else as well. But for the most part, these strategies are in place to get you the traffic right now and build a foundation for long-term traffic. Then we're going to go through a little bit of content syndication. And I shared kind of a little infographic, kind of like a map of what our content syndication looks like. This is basically just easier ways for you to get the content out there, potentially build some links, but also just get it out there and open up the number of channels where you can be driving traffic in. Then we're going to talk a little bit about crafting your promotion plan and the steps that you need to actually build your checklist. So diving right in, the 80-20 of content marketing. So just like anything else, whether it's like a software business or you sell a particular product or you sell a particular service, you pretty much have to have a really awesome product or service to start with before you can build a business around it, before you can scale it to a really good scale, to a really good level. The same goes for the content marketing side of things. We've created really awesome content, and that's what a lot of the formulas are there for. But in reality, 80% of the work is once you've hit that publish button, it's getting it out there, getting it promoted, building links to it, getting the SEO fundamentals in place, and setting the foundation for everything that'll give you long-term traffic as well as some of the upfront traffic. Quick little fact there, which actually blew me away when I found it. So this is updated as of 2016. There's over 2 million blog posts that are published every single day, which is insane. That's a lot of content. And that's not taking into account, duplicate content or anything like that. That's new folks just hitting publish on a blog post, which is kind of insane. But that kind of reinforces all the more need that you have to go out there and create really awesome content and then actually bring it out there to the folks that need to see it. So in our case, we're going to be getting in front of your most ideal customers, the folks that really should be seeing your content on a daily, weekly, monthly basis, however often you publish. The big expectation here is if you're going to spend 6 hours writing your article, you should expect to spend about 18 hours promoting it, or at least the resources to make up that 18 hours. That's kind of just the bare bones reality of it. It's definitely not quick and easy, but it layers the foundation there so you're actually doing things properly. So basically, these are just some stats and stuff to kind of help reiterate it. But the reason why I went through the entire process beforehand of showing you how to create really epic content and really reinforcing that you should create epic content is basically because of these 4 graphs I'm going to show you right now. So number one, a great kind of thing that drives it home, the average content length for stuff that ranks in the top 10 on Google, the average there and kind of the spike there is at above 2,000 some words. So on the low end, I talked to everybody about kind of going after and doing, at least 2,500 words plus. The reason for that is, this particular graph is at least 5-6 years old, and it's spiked even higher towards that 2,000, 3,000, 4,000 word length on, the top 10 search results. In addition to that, the longer your content is, the more shares you actually get, because people see this article that's actually like 20 pages if you wrote it out in Microsoft Word. They're like, holy crap, this must be unbelievable. You must be delivering a ton of value. So I'm going to share it because I get to deliver value to my network too. That's really what these monster guys that we're putting together in these monster posts, these skyscraper posts, that's what they incite. They incite shares because people are in awe of just how much value you're delivering. And how that translates towards the SEO side of things is, there's an analysis of Moz.com's website. They're they're a big SEO tool. They do a lot of content. Basically, they analyze all the posts on their site, and I sorted it out so that it would show the number of posts on Moz by word count, and then the relative number of backlinks on those posts. And you'll see the kind of spike up the top here are some of their major, massive guides that are 30,000 words, have the most backlinks. Like, they just get shared the most. They have the most backlinks. They rank the easiest on a lot of keywords that they're going after. And as a result of that, they drive tons of traffic. Some of these ones that are up in that 30,000 word range drive them upwards of 50, 60,000 monthly unique visitors, just those one or two posts. So it's pretty significant. Now, again, quick overview why building links actually matters. As it relates to those last two graphs we just saw, Google views backlinks as kind of your influence level. So they look at it as your group of friends. So if you have a bunch of low quality links from like Viagra pill sites, for Google, that's basically telling them, hey, I like to hang out with a bunch of bad apples. Like, I'm not a good source of information. But on the other hand, if you have links back to your site from news publications, from press that you may have done, you may have something on Wikipedia because you're notable. Maybe you have like market specific publications that you contribute to and they link back to your site. That's telling Google, hey, I know what I'm talking about. I'm an authority because I've been linked to from all these different publications. And what I'm putting out there is actually valuable content. So that, in essence, is the best way to understand link building and the links that come back to your site. Anything that looks really sketchy and really bad, in Google's eyes, is just saying, hey, my content's not that great. So like, don't bother showing me in the top page because I'm just going to deliver a bad user experience. But on the other hand, what we're trying to do is get you to a place where Google sees you as an authority. Your website has tons of valuable information to deliver. And as a result of that, it ranks you on the first page. So backlinks in that process are basically any link back to your site from wherever on the internet. It could be a YouTube video, you link back to your site. On Facebook, maybe you link back to your site in a post. Anywhere on the internet is considered a backlink. Anywhere that links back to your website that Google can index, they can see, that is a backlink in Google's eyes. There's tons of different ways that they're qualified in terms of quality of a backlink, things like that. The main one that we're kind of concerned with, you don't really need to understand this fully, but the main one we're concerned with is one that you'd see from either the ahrefs.com tool or the moz.com tool. It's either called URL rating or page authority. The exact same thing. It's just slightly different in the way they calculate it. But basically, it's a measure, a scale from 1 to 100, where 100 is the best, of just how valuable that link is to your website. So a link from google.com is obviously very, very valuable. A link from marketinglandsearchengine.com is probably completely useless because that's just some random site that probably doesn't even exist. And the way it's quantified as well, it's on a logarithmic scale. So one link from a google.com is really the equivalent of hundreds and even thousands of very, very low quality site links. So the higher up the scale you go, the more links you get from folks like Inc.com, Entrepreneur.com, news publications, Wikipedia, the better off you are, and the more high quality backlinks you're going to have as a result of that. But the easiest way to kind of see it is a bit more visually. So this is a mobile app development company. Basically, I took a look at their site. They've been around for about 2 years. This is using Ahrefs tool. You don't need to understand a lot of this data, but basically they have 119,000 backlinks. That's driving them 15,000 organic keywords that they're ranking on, and driving 21,000 monthly unique visitors from organic traffic. You can see, here's kind of the breakdown of where all their links are in terms of URL rating. And here's one of their direct competitors. Been around for 8 years, amassed a significant amount more backlinks, 8 times more backlinks. They have twice as many organic keywords that they rank for, and they have almost 12 times more traffic. I think it's 10 times more traffic. I don't know, my math's off today, but they have a ton more traffic. That's basically all that matters. But you can see the one over here, like they have a couple of these high ranking URLs and everything, which is great, but you can't compete with sheer numbers that these guys are bringing in. So like, again, you don't need to fully understand this, but just understand that there's a mix between quality and quantity that you have to hit. In reality, if you put out content, you promote it, and you do things that aren't sketchy, you're not going to need to worry about any of this stuff, because in the end, you're going to be on the positive end of it. And one of the greatest examples, someone I talked to last week, she runs an e-commerce company, phenomenal woman. And they've built a $2 million a year channel out of organic traffic without knowing what the hell they were doing. They just put really awesome content out there because they just thought that was the right thing to do. They posted it on social media. They tried to promote it with Facebook ads and Google advertising because they thought it was the right thing to do. And they focused on just getting out there and doing guest blogs and stuff because that's what people were telling them to do. And they just did stuff that was always above board. And as a result of that, they're absolutely killing it. $2 million a year in organic traffic to a really, really niche area of things. I can't mention it because they're not a client yet, but it's a really ridiculous niche, to be perfectly honest. But they built an amazing business out of it. And it's because they were just focused on delivering the most that they could in any way that they could. And as a result of it, they didn't really have to worry about the SEO side of things. It just naturally took place. But that was a lot of like technical stuff. So let's get through some questions if anybody has any questions, because I know that might have gone over a few folks' heads, especially if you don't have a background in SEO. So any questions that you may have, I'll answer them, but know that you don't need to know this stuff in and out. You just need to understand that it's important to your website, and you need to understand that doing things that are above board, that are in what we call the white hat section of things that are like not sketchy and not illegal, that's the way you need to go. Any questions, you can pop them in the chat or unmute yourself and ask.
Hi, Jamil.
Hey.
Two examples you gave. One is a 2-year-old domain name. The other one is 8 years old.
Mm-hmm.
Does that matter to any of us here?
No, the age doesn't matter, to be perfectly honest. The only reason why I mention that as well is just so you can understand, like, they were able to scale up relatively quickly. These guys, their organic channel, the 2-year-old site, their organic channel is worth $2.5 million a year to them. These other guys, their organic channel is worth about $4.5 million a year. And they do a lot of very below board stuff. So if I took a screenshot of this 2 years later, these guys would have a very significant amount less traffic. But mainly I just wanted you to understand that, that there is some kind of balance there between quality and quantity. But it's not as linear as you may think.
So in my case, based on your recommendation, I'm getting a 2,000 word article written right now, and the vertical that we discussed.
Mm-hmm.
I was also considering buying a brand new domain name. So you're saying that has no factor. If I just placed those articles in that new domain name, I would have gotten similar results if I posted on my 3 years old website. Yeah,
the age won't actually make much of a difference. If that domain that you've had for a while already has folks linking to it, then there's a small difference there. It just depends on what the quality of those folks look like. You can go to a tool like Ahrefs and see that stuff for free. But it basically be, if you use that article, you did some press releases, maybe you got featured on Inc.com or something, in that case, like totally go with that existing domain because you'll have links back from really high authority sites. If you haven't really done any of that and it's kind of just been there, you've just been using it for LinkedIn automation or LinkedIn prospecting or something for the last couple of years, you probably don't have enough links there that it makes a difference.
Okay, and what was the name of the website that you just said? I missed that.
Ahrefs. I have a tool section at the end.
Okay, cool.
I'll leave a link there for you as well.
Thank you.
But there's like 3 other tools that you can use as well. All of them are, you can search that stuff initially for free. This is kind of where you want to look. And if you see like any large numbers here or any large numbers in referring or backlinks or anything like that, then that's when you may want to work with the existing domain. But again, if you have questions about that, like totally screenshot it, send it over to me. Just be like, hey, what do you think? I'll totally help you get that sorted out.
Gotcha.
Hey, Jamil.
Yep.
Jamil, can you hear me? You had mentioned that a website that has not been around for very long, doesn't have a lot of links, but yet you could put out an amazing quality amount of like articles. Let's say you have like 5 of them, really awesome ones, and you got links from Google, Entrepreneur Magazine, or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
That your website would actually have more authority than one that's been around for a long time and might have a lot more links. Is that what you said?
No. So if it's been around for a while and it does have a lot of links,
okay,
but they are like a lot of just standard ones that you might get from posting on like social media or something.
Yeah.
That in comparison to getting links from Google and everything, even though it's brand new, say in the first 3 months, you get 10 links from Google, you get Entrepreneur, you get Inc.com. That site will allow you to rank much faster than the older site, simply because level of authority is so much more significant.
Okay. So let's say you're in a specific industry.
Mm-hmm.
Are there weighted, I guess, is that the right word? Weighted averages, I guess, with certain types of websites. So let's say a specific industry, certain players or certain magazines or certain whatever tend to have more weight in that industry. Would you have more weight than if you got one from, let's say, Entrepreneur Magazine, let's just say?
Relevance matters.
Okay.
Relevance matters.
So if you're in real estate,
that gets really
a bunch of really high level real estate, I don't know, like Inman Magazine, let's just say,
mm-hmm.
right? That's a high one in the real estate world, right?
Yeah.
Versus, I don't know, Inc. Magazine, let's just say.
So in that situation, if Inc. Magazine and that other publication, their SEO statistics were basically the same, meaning the level of authority in each site is about the same. A link
mm-hmm.
from the relevant industry site will be more valuable for you and it'll allow you to rank faster in the specific, in the keywords that relate to that industry versus Inc.
Okay.
It's a marginal difference at that level. So
mm-hmm.
at that level, saying like a Wikipedia link versus a Google link that is niche relevant, it's relatively
mm-hmm.
marginal because at that level, those sites are massive and they have a ton of authority. And in either case, a link from either one of them is amazing. But if you're looking at some of the stuff you might get from guest blogging, which is one of the things we're going to go over, 2 sites that are relatively mid-level, they're a small publication. They publish like 5-6 blogs a day, kind of like what HubSpot does. Something that's niche relevant versus something that's a bit more general about business. Apples there kind of. It's the one that's a little bit more relevant to your industry will have a little bit more weighting, but it's not a very massive, significant amount.
Okay. All right. So we should be looking almost for some of these players, I guess, in specific industries that which you are in, and try when you're creating that. What was that article we were talking about? There was an article that you were talking about where you're linking back, pointing to other people's articles, right?
Yeah, the
emailing them article. And saying, yeah, and emailing them back or something.
Yeah,
and saying, hey, I featured you here, and maybe they'll create a link, right, to your website, that thing. Okay.
In those cases, it's also if you're in a particular market, they're in a particular market, there's much better chance they're going to link to you versus if you link out to like entrepreneur.com and it has nothing to do with entrepreneurs.
Mm-hmm.
In that case, it's also just what makes most sense. We'll dive into kind of a little bit about how you should plan your links in just a second when we go through link building.
Okay.
Yeah.
In this call?
Yeah, that's actually the next thing that we're going to jump into.
Perfect. Awesome. Thanks.
Awesome. Any other questions? Cool. So I'm going to jump in then. So the next thing up is link building. So basically, these are a few methods that we use to build links back to our site that are relevant. They're within our market. They're high value in most cases, and they don't take a whole lot of time in some of these cases. And that being said, there's also areas of things like with unbranded mentions where you, like in reality, you just have the right where someone's mentioned you and they just didn't link to you, and it's just like, hey, like you need to give me that. But we'll dive right into it. So we'll go through them in order. And as we go through it, some of these are much better for making sure that all the links are relevant. Some of them are a bit harder because you're kind of at the whim of that person. But asking for a link, that's kind of one where it may or may not be niche relevant. But in reality, chances are you know someone that runs a blog that may either be in your niche or they run a publication that may be a little bit more general, maybe not necessarily in your niche, where you can ask them for either a direct link or you can ask them, hey, can I post some content and can I get a link back? I actually just did a search on my network just before this call, and I noticed I was connected to 5 folks who contribute to some really awesome publications, one of which is actually an editor at that publication. And in that particular case, I could totally reach out to them and ask, hey, you run this local news site, can I contribute some content and get a link back? Pretty straightforward, pretty simple. I mean, chances are everybody on this call right now is connected to somebody that they can do that with. And honestly, that is one of the easiest ways to build links because you will get a lot of extra leeway in what you do. But one of the ones that I'm sure everybody's going to be able to take on that is really, really easy is guest blogging. So what you want to do when you go and approach guest blogging, which is basically just reaching out to another blog and posting content on their site that then has some type of mention or link or something back to your site, you want to make sure that it's relevant to your market. So in the example of marketing, for those that are in the marketing space, there's a lot of places that you can go to, but one of the really kind of coveted ones is going on getting a link from HubSpot.com. They're a site that deals with inbound marketing. They have this massive kind of blog publication that they have. They post 10, 20 articles a day. And getting a link from there is really awesome. Getting a blog featured on there is really awesome. So in the marketing space, that would be a relevant site. In the fitness and nutrition space, it might be something like draxe.com. But what you really want to do is look at folks who are relevant. They have some really good content on their site already, so they're not just posting random garbage. And ideally, they already have a lot of traffic. So if they're sites that are in your market that you recognize the name, chances are they have that level of traffic, and those are the folks that you really want to go after. And a lot of those folks may not publicly say it, but they usually will accept guest blogs or they will accept contributors. Easy way to make sure that they have good content and they have a good amount of traffic, ahrefs.com or semrush.com. Both of these tools, pop in the URL. It'll give you some data there around how many backlinks and things they have, which you don't need to worry about, but they'll give you data around how much traffic they have, which is always really good to know. And especially with SEMrush, it'll show you a graph over time. If you see that traffic graph kind of go way up and then way down, that's probably not a site you want to guest blog on, because chances are they've been doing some sketchy SEO stuff, and that's why they had a really big drop. But if it's on an upward trend, which if you look at something like HubSpot.com as a sample there, they're on a really awesome upward trend. And let me show you exactly what this looks like. That way you have a really good understanding. Open up my browser here, and so I'll share this. So this is semrush.com. Basically allows you to pop in a domain name and it'll give you some data about that domain. So HubSpot.com in the US, because that is where they're based. It is the free version as well. So, tons of traffic here, 1.4 million organic uniques. Tons of backlinks here as well, because everybody links out to them. They're a major publication in the marketing space. And even if I look at all time, the graph is just significant trend upwards consistently. If we look at it on a monthly basis, it's kind of flatline, which is great. That's also standard traffic in their realm. 6 month, slight increase. This is an ideal use case. Compare, whatever you see to, this kind of trend. If it follows this type of trend upwards, you're in a good spot. You're in a good position there. Let's get back here. So easy ways to find these opportunities. You may just know them. You may just know the blogs that make sense in your industry. You can also use these these Google searches. So these are literally, you can copy and paste these Google searches, and it'll search for, it'll leverage some of the extra tools that Google has to allow you to search for very specific things. So in this case, in the URL, it has submission guidelines, and then you put your keyword in here. So you put, fitness, or whatever the keyword might be. So you just paste that into Google exactly like that. And it's going to spit out every single URL that has submission guidelines in the URL. So in the web address and your keyword. And similarly for all this as well, like Write For Us, or just search guest post plus your keyword, or contribute plus your keyword. Between these four, you'll find at least 50 or 60 places that you can guest blog. Some extra options if you are in kind of a larger niche. Maybe it's just your niche is basically just fitness. Like, that's great. You can use a tool like guestposttracker.com, which aggregates, I believe it aggregates the top 350 or so guest blog sites across different markets. We use it as it's a great tool to kind of get in there, like who are the best, who are the top, and what do their guidelines look like and things like that. It aggregates all that data. Or very, very simple, very flat out, just blogs that accept guest posts. Search that on Google. You're going to find a ton of roundup links, a ton of roundup lists. Some of them have like upwards of 1,000 guest blog accepting sites that they list out. It's pretty awesome. So it's very easy to find these sites. And the goal that you're after is basically, when you submit that guest post, you want to submit an article that either has a link within it to your website or to a particular piece of content, or in your bio to your website or to a particular piece of content. And the reason why I say website or content is, to start, you may just want to link to your website because you only have one article posted. But as you scale and as you start posting more content regularly, you may want to send out guest blogs that are just derived from your content. So, great example, we have an article that was written about content marketing metrics. So the key, metrics and analytics that you need to track for content marketing. So we took that long form article that we wrote and we split it up into 4 or 5 smaller pieces. And we started pitching guest blogs to try and get guest blogs where we could talk about those individual pieces, like the best web analytics stuff related to content marketing trend or content marketing metrics, and the best tools to use for to track content marketing metrics. And we'd post these as guest blogs on other sites, link directly back to our article, because that's the continuation. It's, if you're interested in tools, well, here's the 15 key metrics you need to track. Or if you're interested in content marketing analytics and how to set it up, here's the key metrics you need to get set up and track. So kind of, an easy way to continue the conversation with your content. Very, very key things here when you're pitching guest blogs you're pitching blogs in order to get a guest post. Keep your pitch really short, to the point. Focus on making sure that what you're pitching them is actually relevant to their industry. I can't tell you the number of emails I get on a daily basis, not even a week or a month, on a daily basis, that are people who run health sites trying to pitch me on like Viagra pill blog articles and things like that, like things that have nothing to do with marketing or business. They're like, hey, we have this medical supplement. Can we post this like article about the 5 top medical supplements that you should be taking? And it's just like completely irrelevant. And I have a relatively small website compared to a lot of these guys. If you look at HubSpot, they get upwards of 200 pitches a day. And I'm sure there's a similar site in your particular market. So make sure it's short and to the point. make sure it's highly relevant. Do your background research, do your due diligence, and where you can, show social proof and explain why you can actually deliver value. And I'm going to show you like what that looks like with this example. So this is one that I reached out to this other software company. Their name is Hatchbuck. I can't actually remember what they do, but their blog was all about like marketing and business and things. So I said, okay, let's reach out to them. So very simple, guest contribution for Hatchbuck. Just said, hey, and I looked up the person who manages the blog. I looked up their name and I reached out to her directly and I said, hey, my name is Jamil. I'm the founder of Easy Automated Sales, linked out to my blog. So she can click that and see my existing content. And it's just, on Easy Automated Sales, I write about sales funnels, content marketing, anything related to business growth. I've also contributed to Business to Community, again, linked out to the articles that I've written there. Shout Me Loud, again, linked out to the article there, and Social Media Today, and same thing. And I said, hey, I'm writing because I want to talk to you about contributing to your site. Pretty sure your readers will appreciate what I have to say. And added benefit that I wanted to deliver to them is, hey, I have an email list. My email list loves reading about stuff that I've contributed to other sites, and basically hinting towards the fact that I'll blast it out there as well. Here's some topic ideas I came up with that are fit based on your audience. And these are just 3 topics that I came up with that made sense based on what they'd had already in their, on their blog, and kind of the gaps that they were missing there. Just let me know what you think. And we can hammer out the details. Basically, let me know what you think, and I can give you some of the bullet points of what this stuff might look like. Thanks, and then my name. Super simple. In reality, like if you take like an hour of just focused sending these out, usually within an hour, I'll send out about 20 to 30 of these. And out of that, anywhere from a 5 to 10% response rate is good. It's good considering you're basically reaching out to someone who gets tons of these emails. If you want to be really, really focused and you're being very personable to every one of these folks, you can get like a 10 to 20% response rate, which is amazing. And in that case, you're talking about people who respond and say, yes, we'll take your article. You write the article, that's basically a guaranteed link back, which is awesome. So this is the template. You guys can copy and paste this. It's really simple. You don't have to use the contributed line if you don't have anything that you've contributed to. Just make sure to link out to your site so they can see that you deliver, that you're writing really awesome content, and make sure that you've checked up on what their guidelines look like. They may have a list of things where they're just saying, hey, this is what we want content on, and this is our demographics. For us, we have that written out. We say, here's our demographics. Here's the content we want. If it's not in this content, in this range of content, we don't want it. So make sure that they don't have something like that, or make sure that you're following it if they do have something like that. So that's basically all there is for guest blogging. It's pretty simple, pretty straightforward. The goal is to get out there, get someone to say yes, get an article over to them, get it published. Typically timeline there is you send an email and within a matter of weeks it's published. Which is actually a pretty decent timeline. With some of the larger ones like HubSpot, you're talking about like a month and a half, maybe 2 months, and then it's published. But obviously the value of that is significantly higher. Another really quick way to build links, set up a Google alert for your business name. And every time you get a notification where they've mentioned your business name, but they haven't actually linked back to your site, literally just reach out and ask for the link. Pretty straightforward. I get a ton of these because we mention a lot of different businesses, and for the most part, I try not to link to all of them unless they are very keen on getting that link, in which case they reach out to me. And we've used this ourselves as well. As you create more content, people inevitably will link back to you, and people will inevitably mention you because they start seeing you ranking in the space. They start seeing your stuff on Twitter and on Facebook and everything. They may not always link you directly, in which case you send something like this, very simple. So it's like, in this case, this is one that was sent from Aweber, which is an email automation company, an email autoresponder company. It was, Aweber, unlinked mention, help on Easy Automated Sales website. It was just, good morning, Jamil. My name is, whoever, I can't remember who it was from. Reaching out to you on behalf of Aweber. We'd like to thank you for mentioning Aweber in your article titled, and this is in our 15 content marketing metrics you should be tracking article. Really enjoyed it. Appreciate you including the company. We're reaching out to you today in order to help your readers access our resources more easily. Basically, they just said, hey, here's the link to our site. Here's the link to the article where you mentioned us. We'd love it if you'd link back to us. And she kind of said, P.S., like, let me know if you don't want to do that, and that's totally fine. She just wanted to get a response to know whether it was a yes or no. Really simple email. Chances are, if you already created content, so you've been creating content for a little bit, you probably have at least a handful of these that you can reach out to and actually get that link. Even if they just mention your name somewhere, like, reach out to those folks and say, hey, like, that's phenomenal. Can you link back to my personal site or link back to my business site so your folks can actually learn more about who I am? It's a phenomenally easy way to just go out there and capture some links, because chances are you have a few of these out there. The last way that I absolutely love, infographics. I'm sure everybody here knows what infographic is, and chances are you may have actually created one for your site at some point or another, but very, very few people know how to leverage it correctly. And really what it is there's kind of two steps to it where you can just drive a ridiculous amount of links. Like, I'm talking 100+ links from one infographic quite easily. And they're not low quality links. Infographic directories and stuff have like really, really high domain authorities, and they're really, really they're phenomenal authority sites because they are just content sites. Basically, you have an infographic. First step, go to a list of infographic directories, submit to every single one. There are hundreds of these. And just in there alone, just in this link alone, this ultimate list of infographic directories, I believe there's 70, all of which are free, all of which take, a matter of minutes to get set up, all of which allow a link back to your site or a link back to a particular piece of content or whatever you want to do. I usually spread it out. So if this is an infographic that's based on a piece of content we've done, I'll link back to the content, then I'll link back to our site. Then if it's relevant, I'll link back to one of our service pages. That way they're kind of spread out across the board. But that's just because there are so many directories out there. I didn't want to have 100 links back to one article that in reality doesn't need that many links to rank. The second step after that, though, is really where it gets awesome. So all the folks that you've been building up as a list for guest blogging and everything else, you can actually just reach out to all of those folks and say, hey, we created this infographic. Can we post it on your site, or can you post it on your site as a guest blog? And to make it really appealing to them, you just say, hey, we'll also write an introduction, a conclusion, and a description that's completely unique for your site. So you're basically getting a guest blog with article content plus an infographic for free. It usually is really, really appealing if you actually reach out to them and tell them, hey, we're going to give you unique content on top of an infographic. And all we ask for, is the one link back. The response rate's usually a lot higher than just a standard guest blog. It works really, really well. And you don't necessarily have to go directly to the folks you would approach for guest blogging with this as well. You can go for larger publications. You can go for even smaller publications that are kind of general, but still cover some stuff in your market. You basically you're able to open up in the way that you approach folks, because so many people will take you up on this, and it's a lot easier to just write an introduction, description, and conclusion. You're talking about 200 to 300 words than it is to write 700,000 word guest blog. So it's great to do both, but if you really want to just hit it hard, infographics are phenomenally easy to go out there and build a ton of backlinks that are all high quality really, really quickly. Again, that's a ton of content. So anybody have any questions? Anybody have any questions about any of these strategies? Feel free to pop it in the chat or unmute yourself. Either way.
Jamil?
Yeah.
These infographics, do you usually create them based on your actual skyscraper article? Once you have the content, is it extracted from that into an infographic?
We've been doing that more often now. What we used to do, because we had this infographic creator, they're not around anymore, unfortunately. They were $99 for a phenomenal infographic, and they did the research. So in those cases, we'd actually do the infographic with them and then turn the infographic into an article after the fact. It just made much more sense, right? They were so cheap. But it really, it's completely up to you. The easiest way to do it, honestly, is don't go and create like a really massive infographic that has like 100 points of data. Take, 5, 10 really good points of data, really good trends or facts, and create a kind of relatively small size infographic out of that. That could just be related to your article or it could be from your article, and leverage that as a way to build links for your article. That's the way that we do it now. We take some of the key stats that are really interesting and we leverage that to create a small infographic, a micro infographic that's really, it's usually a square. It's not really like a long form thing. And we use that to build links.
This is probably a silly question, but isn't an infographic a form of picture?
Yeah, it's a picture.
Okay, so that contributes to SEO as well if they share it, huh?
If they link back based on it. So when you submit it to like visual.ly, which is one of the directories there, it'll post your infographic. You write a unique description of, here's what this infographic is talking about, and you get a link back from visual.ly to your website, whether it's to your blog or to your article.
But when you say getting a link back, so they just say, hey, this infographic came from mysite.com?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. When you're approaching guys who want guest blogs and you're approaching those types of folks, you have the option of just saying like, okay, we're going to post the infographic in the middle. We're going to have an introduction, description, conclusion. And in the description, you talk about, how this relates to your article, and then you link from your description to your article. You can do that. That's usually how we do it for guest blogs. But for infographic directories, they're usually really straightforward, and it's just they either link back to you directly and just say source is this website, or they allow you to put a description and you can link back at the bottom of that. So it's just, if you want to read more, here's an article that we wrote about, the same topic, click here to read it.
Okay. Yeah. And do you also post that infographic on your site as well?
Yeah, we usually will. If we create it for a particular article, we'll post it below the article. We haven't been doing as much anymore because they do tend to be quite large. So it really slows down the load time of our site. And we do have a few issues there already. So we took a lot of ours out, but when we move to our new host, we're going to be putting a lot of those back.
Okay. And this could be more of a marketing funnel related question, but do you guys offer the infographic in exchange for an email on your site? Like, have you ever tried that?
I know some folks do. We don't create a lot of really in-depth infographics. So right now we don't. If we do like a funnel map or something and that like makes sense as a lead magnet, like it actually has a good amount of value, then we will. But for the most part, we don't. We try and leverage like an audio version of the article or something like that as the lead magnet.
Okay.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
Yep.
One final question. You said the guys you were using for infographic, they're not around anymore. Do you have any other businesses that you can recommend for us to go to?
Yeah. There will be some that I'll link to in the when I post the video.
Okay.
There's two in particular that I'll link to, but if you want someone that's like really someone that's high end on the design and you want to do the research yourself, just let me know and I can connect you to someone. But otherwise, like honestly, there's basically two basic sites. Growthgeeks.com has someone that does it quite cheap. I think it's $199 a month, and they'll do one every single month for you.
Okay,
so that's the one that we use right now. Then the other is honestly Fiverr. Especially like if you have the article already, just send them over the article link, and for like $20, you'll get a really awesome infographic.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So I mean, like, if you want one that's absolutely like phenomenal, one that's going to get you on like entrepreneur.com, you also do have to invest the money. So like in that case, if you want someone like that, I have a designer that I can connect you to that does just like that level of infographic.
Yeah, it could be definitely worth it for our next big article, like 10,000 plus words and whatnot.
Definitely.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah. Any other questions? Awesome. So now we're into promotion channels. So again, as I mentioned, I'm going to go over it at a relatively high level because I think for everybody, your promotion channel is going to be slightly different based on your audience. Or your key promotion channels are going to be slightly different. But if you're struggling to figure out, where exactly makes the most sense to get the best, ROI on time in terms of getting traffic in, getting social shares, everything else, and doing that the most efficient way, reach out to me. We can have a quick call. We can talk it over. We can narrow down your list and get you, your kind of list of best promotion channels. But basically, obviously, there's tons of channels for you to choose from. There's Facebook, Google, Pinterest, every single social media network. And on top of that, there's content networks like LinkedIn and Medium. Plus, there's infographic directories, tons and tons of channels where you can go out there and promote content in whatever way, shape, or form that it is. What you most need to understand is just where your market lives. So if you have a really heavy B2B software or a really heavy B2B service, Google Plus maybe for you, Instagram probably not. LinkedIn, definitely. You really just need to look at the demographics of every single place where you could promote your content or promote, what you have out there, and just understand what those demographics look like. Do they include the folks that you're after or not? And, make a very simple decision, yes or no. The goal is to kind of have, the handful that are your go-to promotion channels where they're always really awesome for you. So you're getting the best ROI on time invested in getting it out there. Really easy way to kind of look at this is if you go to buzzsumo.com, take some articles from one of your key competitors who is ranking on Google for a lot of the stuff that you want to rank on, and you'll be able to see where they get the most shares from. So I noticed for, if I look at HubSpot, they get tons of social shares from Twitter. So I noticed for the content marketing side of things, all those folks are on Twitter. But if I look at sales funnels and I look at some of the more technical side of marketing, there's a lot more folks on LinkedIn versus Facebook and Google and Pinterest and everything else. So that's where I focus my efforts for those more technical topics. But you can basically go on BuzzSumo. They'll show you all of that data on a 1 year, 6 month, 3 month, daily even basis. It's really, really awesome to take a look at. Similarly, you can also do this in SEMrush if you want to look at websites that are driving these folks traffic. And that's kind of where we get into communities and other sites. So if you're looking at a site, maybe they're getting some traffic from a forum or a community or some type of group outside of social media. SEMrush, Ahrefs is where you're going to find that list of URLs of where, what's driving the traffic. Social communities like this, they could be forums, they could be just groups that have websites and things like that. So a good example in the marketing realm, there's growthhackers.com and inbound.org. Both are basically just places where you can go and post links. That's literally the entire site, is going in there and posting links to other stuff. And that's kind of it's a weird hybrid between a forum and a community. But there's tons of those sites out there for every different market. But forums are a really, really good one. If there are any in your market, they do tend to get a lot of organic traffic. But an easy way to find any of this stuff, if you don't really know where to go to a Facebook group for your market and simply ask. You'll be really surprised by what comes back. There's a lot of sites I didn't know about in the design realm and in the realm of technical marketing and even inbound marketing that I found through a Facebook group where I just simply asked, hey, where do you guys post your content? Where do you get your news in the realm of marketing? Tell me. And there was a lot of really awesome sites that came out of that. So it's a really simple thing to do. Just, go on a Facebook group and that's related to your market and just ask. You usually get a lot of really good response because other folks want to know as well. It's a really, 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 really easy way to approach it. But, outside of that, let's talk about some of the promotion channels that we use and that we recommend. Some of these may be applicable, some of them may not be. But they're really here to give you an idea of, what can work, what can't work, what makes sense, what doesn't. So one of the first ones, obviously the reason why we're creating really epic content and why I really enforced mentioning influencers and bloggers and stuff in your content is so that you can leverage them as a promotion channel. You can reach out to every single person that you've mentioned in an article and email them and say, hey, you mentioned this article, can we get some feedback? And from there, there's the opportunity. They may share it, they may link to it, or they may just give you some really awesome feedback that can improve your content. really simple. It's just, whatever your article title is, hi, first name, just giving you a heads up. We mentioned in our latest article, and you just, put the title here. Can I send over a link to get some feedback? Really appreciate it. Really low barrier. You're not just sending them links. You're not being intrusive. You're saying, hey, can I have permission to send you a really awesome piece of content that I wrote where I mention you? Pretty much you'll get like a 90% response rate on this. It's really insane. We got about 85% response rate across 100 some folks when we last did this. And it's always positive. They always want to see the article, at which point we get some folks, we get feedback. Some folks will just say, hey, I shared it because I know that's exactly what you're after. Some folks say, hey, that's really awesome. They give us some feedback, or they just say, hey, do you want us to share it? Whatever they respond, basically, you send them the article, whatever they respond from that, you just want to ask, hey, would you be up for mentioning it in one of your articles, whether it's an existing one or a future one? Simple question. Once they've already, said yes, they've given you permission, ask for the link. If you don't ask for the link, you may not get it. Don't ask for the social share though, because inevitably that'll happen, but ask for the link because sometimes people need that little bit of a boost. So it's just, hey, that's great. Thanks for giving us the feedback. Would you be interested in linking to this article in some of your existing content or one of your future articles? That if you don't want to, that's totally fine, but I'd really appreciate it. That's it. End of email, 3-4 lines. You'd be really surprised at the level of folks that'll come back and just say like, that's totally fine. We had a few folks who had like hundreds of thousands of followers on Twitter just say like, yeah, cool, we'll link to you in the next article. Oh, and PS, we also tweeted it. And it's absolutely blows your mind. Second one, Twitter direct outreach. So if your audience is on Twitter, this will work really well for you. Basically, you go on BuzzSumo. In addition to finding content that is popular on social media, it will also let you view the sharers of an article, those that have shared it on Twitter in particular. So what you're able to do if you have, if you just use the BuzzSumo trial, you don't need to get a premium account off the bat. But if you find it useful, then it makes sense to get one. But you can export a list of all the sharers on Twitter, even if it's 10,000 people, and you'll get all the data on them. You'll get their names, you'll get their Twitter account URLs. Sometimes you also get emails if they have it in their bio. But basically the goal here is to take that info, find their email, and send them a pretty simple message. Just, hey, name of the article that you shared is the subject line. Notice you tweeted one of my favorite posts, whatever it is from, so-and-so. Actually, I have, an article that's very similar that's coming out next week. Super comprehensive, really awesome. Want a heads up when it goes live. You can adjust this to fit if you've already launched your article too, which is totally fine. You're basically just saying, hey, you tweeted something that was really awesome that I really love, that is completely relevant to what I'm launching in this article. Can I give you, again, you're asking permission, can I give you a heads up when it goes live? Again, you'll be really surprised by the response rate here. Many folks are totally up for it because, again, you're just asking for permission. You're not being intrusive. And it's pretty much inclined there that when you give them the link, if they like it, they're going to share it. It's totally inherent in the way that you approach them. And just, the entire approach is totally inherent in, hey, I want that social share. So a lot of times you will get it. Number 3, phenomenal one, which almost nobody uses still, which really boggles my mind. But translate your content. Pretty straightforward. Honestly, there are a lot of people who do speak English, but they search with the different languages as their kind of core language for Google search. It's very significant, the amount of folks that are out there. Like English is not the number one language by a long shot. And the really awesome thing is when you're translating content and you're doing all these things that are, in the English market, extremely competitive to rank on, you'll notice when you translate your content, it's actually really, really, really easy to rank on Google if you just have really awesome content. There's so few people that translate their content, and in many different languages, they haven't caught up to the way that we do SEO, that we do content marketing. They haven't got, into the craze of 2 million posts a day. So there's a lot of opportunity there to capture very massive market segments where, they may still be based out of the North America, they still may be based out of Europe, but just massive market share within those countries that you're missing out on right now. Biggest thing, obviously, if you have a higher ticket product, focus on a bigger population with a high GDP, because obviously they need to have the money to pay you. That being said, you will be surprised with some countries. Like I do know a student who's based out of Malaysia. She makes about $10 million a year as an 18-year-old. And people never target Indonesia because they think, hey, they have no money. But if you're an entrepreneur or you have products related to entrepreneurship and you target Indonesia, chances are you're targeting her, and she buys a ton of courses. Like, she spends tons of money. She spent upwards of $100,000 this year on entrepreneurship courses. So you'd be surprised by what's out there. There's not, like, a lot of millionaires and billionaires are not just in North America or in Europe. So take a look at it if it makes sense for you. Do your due diligence here and do some research here. Make sure you get your content translated manually. Don't do it automatic. Google knows. But there's a lot of technical things that can go wrong there in terms of a lot of, like, niche industry terms and things like that just don't get translated well. And it's not expensive to get it translated. We're having a lot of our stuff translated into Spanish, and we're going to get some of it translated into Hindi, and then potentially into some other languages to do some tests. But we're paying on average about 3 cents a word. Not expensive at all. It's very, very low cost. Make sure you try and leverage the same link strategy for referencing influencers and bloggers if you can. If you want to do that research, and in some cases you just have no competition, you don't have to. But if there is a little bit of competition, highly recommend doing it. But make sure that you link out to those that are localized in that language. And depending on who you hire for the translation, if it's a one-to-one type freelancer and they're in that space, they'll probably be able to help you out with sorting out those links. One of the guys who translated our growth hacking article into Spanish, it already ranks number 1 for Growth Hacking 101 in Spanish. And he basically went in there and adjusted some of our links to more relevant sites, paid him 4 cents a word. It was absolutely phenomenal. But really easy way to go out there and promote your content and actually generate a ton of organic traffic very rapidly. Q.co, paid promotion. So Q.co is...
Jamil,
yeah.
Do you mind if I interrupt about the translation part?
Yeah, sure.
So I get what you're saying. So translated to a different language that might have more influence, and depending on their GDP and whatnot. But then, aren't you opening a can of worms? So if I want to target the Spanish market and I translated 10,000 word article and they love it and I rank number 1, then aren't they gonna ask for more content? Or if I'm selling my products to them, isn't everything supposed to be in Spanish moving forward?
You don't have to. You'd actually be very surprised the number of folks who just search on that natively. I know it's a lot more. It's not necessarily a lot of young professionals, but when you get that like 40 plus range, there's a lot of folks who just, they have a different first language. When they search on Google, that's just their language, but they know English. So going from hitting like a Spanish article into an English experience is totally fine. But that being said, you really have to look at the ROI of it. If you get a whole bunch of folks that come in because you rank number 1 on like 3 amazing high traffic keywords and they are driving your revenue, like, invest the money totally. If it doesn't make sense for your strategy and it's just an extra nice little revenue stream, but it's not anything major, you're going to be totally fine. You really won't have a lot of folks reach out and give you any hate about it. Some folks will actually reach out and just say, hey, can I translate some of your other articles? Because I know a lot of other people will want it. And that's in the sense of, like, if you have a product that you can build an audience around, your audience will inevitably help you in that regard.
Okay. Yeah, I'm getting the strategy, but for me to maybe better understand is, can you give me an example as to how you can get an ROI out of this? So if I'm targeting the Spanish market, if I'm selling marketing services in financial industry, how would that translate into money or sales?
Yeah. So one of the best examples there, Neil Patel, he translates his neilpatel.com site in 5 different languages. Mm-hmm. Out of that, he's pretty publicly said in the Spanish market alone, he generates about $2-3 million a year in revenue from a handful of articles that he translates every single month. He doesn't translate all of his content. He translates the stuff that performs best, because inevitably when you translate it over, it'll also perform just as well. And in his market, he referred a client to me that came from the Spanish market. These guys is a really weird personal site, but they were doing like $6 million a year in South America only for a very niche personal like community site. You'd really be surprised at the number of people that absolutely kill it in these other markets, because they're more ready with buying stuff than the US and Canada, where we're really saturated. It's actually really, really interesting. So it's only something you should take a look at if that makes sense for your particular market, for your service, for the way your business runs. If it's, in your case, my case, we have marketing services. It honestly totally makes sense to just translate a few articles, see how it performs. If you get some money out of it, great. If you can't build a really big revenue stream out of it in the sense that it makes sense to translate a bunch of articles, that's fine too. We translated the Growth Hacking 101 article. That article in Spanish has actually generated us about $50,000. So for translation cost of $900, it's totally worth it.
Oh, big time. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Got it. Thank you.
Yeah, definitely. So Q.co, small little tool. Basically what they do is they connect to other folks' Buffer accounts in order to curate content for them. So if you have a Buffer account, you want to get a bunch of content related to marketing or whatever particular market sent out on your Twitter account, on your Facebook page and everything without having to do all the work, that's what they do for you. And the way that they amass all their content is through their promotion service. So you can go on Q.co, click on promotion, and you can promote your article into other people's Buffer accounts for anywhere from $0 to $30 on the high end per article. And it's really, really significant. If your content is really good, you put it out to the right group of people. The lowest cost per click we've got when we actually divided out number of clicks back from Twitter and Facebook and everything into our article is 9 cents. So way better than you can do from Facebook or Twitter or Pinterest. But it's actually like, they're really solid people. They share your content readily. It's just absolutely phenomenal. And they literally have categories for like everything. If you sell stuff to churches, there is a category for churches where it's made up of like church ministers and stuff. They literally have everything under the sun. And on the high end, you're paying $30 for, even the most niche areas. It's just absolutely phenomenal. Really easy tool to try out. There's no, hard cost or anything. It's a one-time fee per article. We actually use it really often for a lot of our content. Highly recommend it. If you need any help in getting set up there, totally reach out. I'm a customer advocate. I absolutely love this. Love these guys. Number 5, Facebook ads. Pretty straightforward. There's a lot of different advertising channels you can use. Outbrain, Yahoo, tons and tons of others. Facebook's the one, for us, it makes the most sense. But similarly, if all your audience is on LinkedIn, LinkedIn is something you should consider because they do have a lot of options now to kind of lower the cost. But, even if your folks are on LinkedIn, there are ways to target them through Facebook as well. Facebook's just awesome because you can run direct ads to content. It's relatively low cost. And in most cases, the audience is really big. But the other good thing is it's really effective. So this is, we ran the sales funnels you can steal article for a long time because it was great to get opt-ins. We had a 10% opt-in rate from Facebook ads. We had a whole bunch of people that actually came in and signed up on our ClickFunnels affiliate account, which was also kind of nice. And a bunch of folks that reached out and said like, hey, I downloaded this sales funnel from you. Like, can you guys just do it for me? Because I realized I don't want to write the copy. So this article, I think we've spent around $5,000 promoting it so far. And we've generated almost 6 figures from this one article because it's so to the point to the service that we offer. It's amazing. But again, it's really cheap to promote this stuff. And really what you're doing here is you're building the audience, you're building trust. And ideally, if you have your opt-ins in place really well, you're building your email list of folks that are qualified and interested in exactly what you have to offer. last content strategy that we recommend, social communities. So like I mentioned, for marketing, there's two really awesome ones, growthhackers.com and inbound.org. Two ones that I absolutely love because really it's just a link sharing site. But you want to find your social communities that make sense. They could be anywhere. So there's a lot of Google Plus groups that are still around, even though Google Plus is relatively dead, that actually have really awesome reach. We post a lot of our content on Google Plus in these communities because they can drive hundreds of visitors just for posting on a handful of groups. It's pretty significant. In addition to that, obviously there's Facebook groups, there's LinkedIn groups. On LinkedIn, you can post it to your profile. On Facebook, again, you can post it to your profile or to your page. In addition to that, there's forums and everything else. But the key thing is to kind of take your article, share some snippets, kind of make key points of whatever key steps you have in that article. Make like a very tiny snippet based out of it that's a couple hundred characters, and leverage that as what you post in Facebook groups and things with a call to action to say like, hey, click here to learn more. So in the case it's a list-based article, this is really easy. It's like 7 steps to do X. So you list out the 7 steps, write a very tiny intro at the top, and at the bottom just say, hey, if you want to read the rest of this article, comments, I'll send you the link, or PM me, I'll send you the link, or just leave the link depending on, what they allow in each particular community. On Facebook, always say comment for the link or PM for the link, because for the most part, people absolutely hate it when you just post links to content and stuff in their Facebook groups. But there's a really awesome way to drive a lot of traffic. Give you some great examples there, that 9 sales funnel articles that you can steal. When we updated it to 11 sales funnels that you can steal, we posted it on a whole bunch of Facebook groups, some Google Plus groups, some LinkedIn groups, and again on Growth Hackers and Inbound and everything. We generated about 2,000 unique visitors based out of that. We got about 170 folks that signed up to our email list out of that. And our ClickFunnels affiliate account, we actually got 6 more folks signed up there for $180 a month, which is phenomenal. And in addition to that, we did get a few folks reach out and they basically asked like, hey, can you guys build us a funnel? So it works really, really quickly. Social communities, absolutely phenomenal, and it's only getting bigger and bigger. So I shared this map. I believe it was last week around like content syndication, basically showing you guys how we're leveraging content in multiple mediums to drive links back to our site, to drive traffic back to our site. And this all falls under this guise of content syndication, which is basically taking existing content that you have, slightly repurposing it or not repurposing it at all, and just putting it in other places where you link back to the original. So great example here, if you look at my LinkedIn profile, I post a lot of our articles that show up on Google. Back on my LinkedIn profile, in their entirety, I literally just copy and paste the entire article, link back at the top. The original was published here at this URL. And I do the same thing on medium.com and a few other sites, where we basically just take our articles, repost them once they've been indexed on Google, and inevitably it's another channel for some folks to reach out and take a look at our content. And we leave the links intact and everything as well. This is basically what content syndication is. Gives you a bit of a backlink back, which isn't super high value, but for the most part, it puts you in front of folks who otherwise aren't going to go over and read your article on your website. So on LinkedIn, we get a lot of folks that come back and view our articles, which is awesome. On Medium, we have a little bit of a following there. So again, more folks that read our content that otherwise wouldn't have. And on Quora.com, they have a blog posting service there as well. We do the same thing there. And again, we get in front of a lot of folks who follow us who otherwise don't really go to our site at all. Really, the whole goal of it is just to get in front of more people and build some links back to your site as well, which is always nice. And you can do this with anything. Could be audio files, could be images, could be video. Obviously, video, audio, and images are much easier because you don't need to worry about Google indexing anything because they can't read it anyways. But this kind of falls along with the whole infographic method, right? You might have it posted on your site, but you may also go and distribute it to 100 different sites because it's an infographic and you want to distribute it out there. So give you a quick understanding of this, I'm going to switch over to to this content map. So this is kind of the updated, finalized version of how we're leveraging content for this content syndication model. So the way that we're creating content effective February 1st, we're going to be creating a Facebook Live video on every single topic we otherwise would have written an article about. We're going to strip the audio down. That's going to become a podcast, and that's also going to be leveraged to distribute on a few other sites that are audio focused. Then we're going to transcribe it on rev.com. They charge $1 a minute. All they do is they just take audio, transcribe it. Phenomenal service. That's going to become an article through some help with editing and things like that. But that's going to be where we're going to record it as a video, and behind the scenes it's going to eventually become an article all on its own, which is awesome. The syndication model comes into play where the Facebook Live video gets embedded on the article page. So if someone just wants to watch the video version, that's great. We have that available to them. Same with the audio version. We're going to do the same thing. But in addition to that, we can also post that over to Quora. We can post the video over there, get in front of folks who otherwise, again, wouldn't have seen it. And because we're embedding the Facebook Live video, we're getting extra reach where Facebook's going to say, hey, instead of 500 views, you now have 700 views. Maybe we should distribute this to more of the folks that you're connected to, and inevitably you may get a little bit better reach there. We're also going to download it, put it into some other networks, YouTube, Vimeo, Dailymotion, other places where we have audiences, where we're kind of building up that audience. And in all cases, all roads lead to linking back to our article. Same with the audio over here. We're going to distribute it to other networks, iTunes, Stitcher, SoundCloud. Again, all roads leading back to the article. And the article itself, when it's been indexed, is going to get posted over to medium.com, LinkedIn, Pulse, some social bookmarking sites. And we also leverage it for Quora answers. So if someone asks a question about it, like content marketing metrics, like, hey, what should we be tracking? I, give them a little bit of a snippet from the article, link back to the article. Hey, here's where you should read to learn how to do these metrics properly. So that's how we're leveraging all of our content to build links, get in front of new folks, and drive traffic back to our site, all without having to create new content every single time. So I know that was a ton of stuff. Again, anybody have any questions, whether it's about promotion or the content syndication stuff or anything that we just covered? Awesome. So we'll go into the last section here, which is crafting your actual promotion plan. So obviously it's all going to be a little bit different. But ideally the promotion plan that you put in place is there to drive you some quick win traffic that'll come in. They are potential customers. They're going to opt in. They're folks that you can actually monetize, but they're also people, you're also doing some stuff that'll help you build the foundation to drive traffic over time. So you are building links with that content. Maybe you do guest blogs as part of your promotion plan. And you look at a little bit of the immediate traffic, a little bit of the foundation that you have to build over time. Don't expect to kind of spend all of your time just on social media, Twitter and Facebook. The building links portion of things, building that long-term foundation is part of the promotion process, and it does need to be there if you want to build that long-term foundation to drive organic traffic over time. If you don't take that action with, the link building side of things, inevitably you just won't rank. You won't have that traffic to source from. And as with anything, the perfect promotion plan is just going to be a matter of testing. In reality, that's just kind of how it is. So, 5 quick steps that you can kind of take to get that ready and going is write down just, the amount of time and money that you realistically want to spend per article on promotion. It might be 5 hours a week. Maybe that's what you can dedicate, or maybe just say, like 30 minutes and I can spend like $500, whatever the case. Write down what that is so you have a very, real expectation of, here's exactly what we can do. Don't stretch yourself like crazy here either. Like set what's realistic, what's not going to break the bank like crazy. Set stuff that's realistic, that's continuously achievable, that can be repeated. pick a handful of the methods that we went through and some that, like maybe it's posting on certain communities that you know about. Pick a handful of those methods and make sure that it fits within your resource restraints, your time restraints, and just execute. Execute, see how it goes, review the data that comes in, identify what's winning, what makes sense, what got a good ROI, what didn't. Iterate and just rinse and repeat. Just keep doing that over and over and over again. Eventually you end up with the perfect checklist for you. And basically, quick, this is what ours looks like, just so you have a good sense here. So first thing we do is put it on queue paid promotion. Once it's launched, that's the first thing we do. And we actually do it twice. It's a 30-day cycle for $30. So we post it once it's expired, we post it again because it tends to drive a lot of traffic for us. So I absolutely love it. And with us, I have a pretty good understanding of exactly how long it takes for us to have something rank. So this 60 days gives us enough time that we're at the point where we're driving organic traffic by the time the second promotion is expired. Second, email outreach for influencers. We went through all the process of creating those links to bloggers and influencers. We leverage them here. And then we run some ads. This is partially just to get, again, immediate traffic, but also leverage it as a list building tool. Understand if it's working well or if it's not. If it works really well, it becomes part of our evergreen list building articles, and we continuously run traffic to it. But we do an initial test, $50 on Facebook, $50 on Outbrain, $50 on Yahoo. You can do whatever you want. It could be $5. It's totally fine. But we do a $150 test. If it works well, we continue it. If not, we move on to the next thing, which is we post on Growth Hackers, inbound.org. Sometimes we post on Warrior Forum if it's relevant, and a few other forums. Basically, we post an iteration of our article, a smaller forum version of it, and say, hey, you can click here to read the rest of it. This is where it's originally published. Fifth thing we do is content syndication. So once it's ranking on Google, we'll take that article, paste it onto Medium, paste it onto LinkedIn, get it in front of those other audiences. And the last two things that we do is we look at infographics and blogging, so the link building side. So the sixth, the kind of last thing we do is guest blogging. We'll reach out to about 50 or 60 folks, 50 or 60 blogs to do something that's directly related to our article. So if we're talking about, again, content marketing metrics, we'll try and relate the guest post to that as well. Typically, we pitch 50, 60 folks. We land about 3 to 5 articles, which is not too bad. It's enough that we get to build a few links, which is great. And if the article is doing really well, like paid traffic's working, everything's working really well, then we do an infographic. Basically, like 1 out of every 10 articles that we write becomes an infographic. It's not a whole lot of them that do that, but the ones that perform really well, we understand that people resonate with it, which is great, which means that if we create the infographic, we have the chance that if we put it on our site in the article and we have an embed link, which just says, hey, like copy and paste this if you want to put it on your site, there's a chance people might actually do that. So that way we can have a passive stream for getting links back. So that's our checklist. Feel free to take elements from there if you want. That's what it's there for. But basically, the action items: research your promotion channels, pull together some content promotion methods you're going to use. Get a very realistic view of what's possible, and take action. So quick kind of housekeeping items almost. So some videos that are going to be coming up in the next week or two. I'm going to put up a couple of videos on how to run Facebook content ads, how to run the Facebook boosted post ads if you're going to use Facebook Live and everything, how to set up Yahoo content ads, because it is a really cheap, really awesome way to get traffic to your site, how to run Outbrain ads. So I'm going to go step by step again through how to set up Outbrain and everything. And also a quick video, just how to do the Q.co promotion. It's not necessarily confusing, but there's a couple steps in there. And I'm just going to create the video just in case, because it's always good to have there. And then again, anything else that you guys feel like, hey, you're missing this, like I want to learn how to do this, and this is the promotion method that I want to choose, like just ask me and I'll create the video. Totally. But some tools that are in here, they're also going to be when I post the video. I mentioned Ahrefs a few times now. That is like my go-to all-in-one SEO tool. They track everything. You can track keyword rankings and everything from here as well. You can see what's going on with relation to links. You can see what's going on with relation to organic traffic. It's an absolutely amazing tool. I can't recommend it enough. It's phenomenal. For rank trackers, if that's all you want to do is track your keyword rankings over time, serpbook.com or serps.com. Both two tools cost you like $20 a month. One's like $9 a month. And really that's all you need if you just want to track, where your keywords are. And a quick tool, someone asked about like, how do I check, the basic SEO stuff for my site, like the on-page issues that there may be. WooRank.com is awesome at this. It's free to do the initial report. If you do that report and you don't understand what it's showing you, and it's showing you some issues, but you're not quite sure how to fix it, grab a one-on-one call with me. We'll talk it through. That way you have an understanding of kind of like what you actually need to do. And, again, if there's some advice that I can give you there to take action and fix some of that stuff, I will, pretty flat out. If you need someone to help you fix it, I'll make the recommendation. But make sure, like, if you're not quite sure if you're SEO ready or if your on-site stuff's in good place, take a look at WooRank.com. It's pretty simple. They try to give you a lot of data around like, here's what you have to do to fix this and how to fix that. It's quite good. But other than that, any questions, any tools that you need, any videos or tutorials that anybody needs, let me know now. I can make notes and I can make sure that I take action on that for you. Feel free to like unmute yourself or just pop in the chat. Let me know if you have questions or requests or anything.
Jamil, nothing so far, but truly amazing content, buddy. Thanks so much. Really appreciate it.
Definitely. Thank you. Appreciate that. Any questions?
No, that was really amazing. It was really good.
Awesome. Thank you.
It was a lot to listen to. I'll have to kind of absorb it. I'll get back to you.
Yeah, it definitely morphed into that. I actually didn't think it was going to be a full hour and a half. But yeah, it's a lot of content there. I'm going to try and get up as quickly as possible because I know a lot of you are probably going to want to read this a couple times to get specific aspects that make sense at the time. It's totally fine. Yeah, so I mean, it doesn't seem like anybody has any questions, but if you do have questions when you're going through this, when you're executing this, or you say, hey, there's a tool that's not here that I need, or there's a video or tutorial that I need that's not here, reach out to me, let me know, post in the Facebook group, whatever you need to do to get in touch with me to let me know, and I'll create it. That's the whole purpose of doing this as, a really small group. I want to get that feedback. I want to create all the videos and tutorials you need to take action. And even if it's like, hey, we hired this guy to do.
I did think.
Yeah, go ahead. Oh yeah. So basically, like, if there's something that you need, even if you just hired a VA and you said like, hey, we hired this guy to do content promotion. Like, can you create a tutorial to how to do these like 5 methods? Let me know. I'll create the video. Like, that's totally fine. That's what I'm here for. So let me know if you need any of that stuff. Let me know if you have questions. Otherwise, I absolutely appreciate everybody sticking around for an hour and a half.
Jamil, I actually do have a comment. I think the material has been really, really good. One of the things I kind of realized was when you stop and kind of go again, it's kind of hard to remember exactly where you are and end up watching the content. So just an outline of something does that make sense? Like an outline so that we know what is kind of covered in the steps to do type of thing.
Yeah, I can definitely pull that together.
That's one of those things. So yeah, that's what I kind of realized because I ended up having to rewatch a lot of the stuff, and I was like, oh, okay, this is where I am. I remember all that stuff now. So
definitely, these long form videos are only temporary. They will inevitably get pulled into smaller videos, but I can get something up for that really quickly.
Okay, thanks.
Awesome. Thank you for that. So yeah, definitely. If any of you need anything like that, even if it's, something simple like that, let me know. I'll get it done for you. But otherwise, thank you for sticking around for an hour and a half to listen to me kind of ramble on there. And thanks for being a part of the program. We have one last call where we're going to go all together through It's around lead generation, converting leads that you have into actual customers. But again, feel free to reach out if you want a one-on-one call, you want to talk with me personally about any of your stuff. And I also run some Q&A calls after that point when we do the last call as well, when we start to get rolling on turning this into an actual course.